Today I'm going to do a basic config on a Cisco switch. First thing I'm going to do is set up a host name. I'm going to add some credentials, set up the console so we don't get annoying messages, create a domain name, some VLANs, an SVI so that we can manage it, and then I'm going to add a default route, generate some crypto keys so that we can SSH to it and confirm SSH is working. So let's go ahead and get started. This is a fresh config. There is nothing on this, and I do not want to enter the initial dialog. And here I am in user mode, and I want to get into privilege mode. So I'm going to enter enable, and now I'm in privilege mode. I want to move into global configuration mode. And I want to set up my host name, which is going to be C3560 CX-lab-A, and hit enter, and there we are, done with step one. Okay, and the host name is now set up. Next thing is to set up a username and password. So I'm still in global configuration mode. You can see that the name of the switch has actually changed, and I'm going to set up username admin, and then I'm going to say privilege 15, so as soon as I log in I'm going to be right in privileged mode, and then I'm going to say algorithm type scrypt, real strong encryption, and secret. Now I enter the actual passcode, which will be Cisco. So now I have my login credentials, but those aren't actually applied anywhere. So now I need to set up some of the console settings. So this is the console port that I'm logged into right now. I'm going to line console 0, and I'm going to do logging synchronous. And I'm also going to set an executive timeout. Exec T. Oh, did that change? Oh, look, typo. Exec timeout to, let's see, I'm going to set it for 30. Okay, so what that did was it just made it so that this console session will not time out for 30 minutes, and also so that when I'm typing, I won't get these console messages. Well, I'll get these console messages, but it'll put me on a new line when it's done. Believe me, you'll experience what I'm talking about if you don't put it in there. Then I'm also going to do login local. And I'm going to need to remember to do something else too. The enable. This was not on my list, and I just remembered it. I'm going to make the enable secret Cisco as well. So if I were to log in and I was in user mode and I typed in enable, it would ask for a password, and then that password would now be Cisco. So let's look at our little roadmap. We got hostname set up, login credentials set up, console set up, and so now we want to make a domain name. And I need to do this because if I don't do this, I can't generate SSH keys. So I'm going to say IP domain. I believe, yep, IP uptown, and my fictional company network. Wow. Voice.com. Okay, so I now created a domain name, and I'm now going to create a couple of VLANs. So I'm going to make one VLAN 10, and I'll name this one data. And then I don't have to exit this VLAN. I'm going to refresh this. So I'm back up at the top here. I can just go straight create another VLAN by going VLAN 40, and I'll say the name is voice. And then I will exit to get back to global configuration mode. So now I have two VLANs, VLANs 10 and VLAN 40 for data and voice respectively. And then I also need to make an SVI so I can manage this and SSH to it. So I'm going to pick out an IP address for VLAN 10. That's what I'm going to use to manage this. So I picked out an IP address. I'm going to add that in here. So I'm going to go into VLAN 10's interface, and I'm going to go IP address. Oh, there's the console messages I was talking about. IP address and 10.0.0.4, and the mask will be 255. And if that doesn't make sense to you, you probably need to go back and look at a CCNA course. This is not really going over the theory much. It's just going over some of the commands. So there we go. So I now have an SVI. I should be able to ping that from my PC once this is plugged into the network, which it currently is not. So let's look at our little roadmap here. We got SVI set up, and a default route needs to be set up. So all this means is if I'm going to send all of the traffic to places I don't know to this IP address. So if this switch doesn't recognize an IP address or know where it is, it's going to forward all of it to this IP address, and that's just going to be my home router IP address. So I will go, I think I need to enable routing first. So IP routing. So I enabled routing, and I'll say IP route 0.0.0, 0.0.0.0, 192.168.1.1. And now that is enabled. Let's look back at our, so that is called gateway of last resort. Okay, so I got that done. So now we are getting into it here. Generate the crypto keys. So in global configuration mode still, crypto key generate RSA. Hit enter, and I'm going to do 4096. If you do this, if you use too small of a value here, it won't enable SSH version 2. And that's what you really want. So just do the highest you can. It might take a second, but that's okay. So I'll wait for this to finish here. Okay, and there's a couple other things I actually just added. I want to create the trunk port so I can connect this to another switch, and then create the access ports as well. And then the last thing I'll do is confirm SSH is working. So going into here, I want to go into exit so I can do some show commands, and I want to look at all my interfaces. So I'm going to do a show IP interface brief. And I have 1 through 16 available, and 15 and 16 are actually fiber, so I'm going to do 13 and 14 as my trunk. Well, actually just 13. So I'll do show run int gi 1013. And as you can see, there's no configuration on that interface, so I'm going to go into configure terminal now. And then I need to go into that interface, so gigabit Ethernet 1013. And I'm going to say switch port mode trunk. No shutdown. And just lock it down a little bit, I'll say switch port trunk allowed VLAN, and I'm going to say 1, 10, oh, not 20, 10, and 40. And then I'm going to exit out of that. And then I want to go into my access interfaces. So I'm actually going to do this in a range. I will do int gi, actually range, sorry, interface range gigabit Ethernet 101 through 12. These will be my access ports. And I'm going to say switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 10 for data, switch port voice VLAN 40, and then I'm going to say switch port security, turn that on, switch port security maximum 2, and then I'm going to say spanning tree port fast so that this comes up quickly. Alright, so now I did that. I added a trunk port, and I created access ports, actually I need to enable SSH now. Let me just add that to that. Okay, so I'm going to exit this range here, and I'm going to say, so now I'm in global configuration mode. I'm going to go line VTY, I'm going to go 0, 15, and I'm going to say transport input SSH. And now SSH is enabled, but I also need to put in login local. There we go. And now we have those credentials that we set up early in this video are what will be used for logging into SSH. So now we can exit out of the VTY terminal. And now I'm going to plug this into my other switch and make sure that we can ping things and make sure that we can be SSH'd into. Okay, so I plugged it in, so now I'm going to do a show CDP neighbors, and I see it sees another switch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say show interfaces, or actually show interface (1013) status, and you can see that it is full duplex, and it is speed is A100. Okay, all right, and it is a trunk, but it is up and running. It's not going to work. So I realized that there is a problem with my default gateway. I think I can change that and fix it. But anyway, I can forget about that for now. And what I can do is make sure that I can ping the other switch. And that worked. So that's good. And now for my machine, I should also be able to ping the new switch that I have on the network. So ping 10.0.0.4, and I get replies right away. So I now should be able to SSH to this as well. So I'll pull up Solar Putty over here, and I'm going to create a new session, and I'm going to call it C3560CX-lab-A SSH version 2, and I'm going to create new credentials. Say admin in Cisco, so it's just going to put these in for me when I connect. And actually I need to do this. I need to put in the IP address right here, 10.0.0.4. Now let's see if it works. And that's fine. It's just saying that the certificate that we generated with CryptoKey Generate RSA is not valid. I'll say yes, and here I am. I am in. So the last thing I need to do is save the configuration. So I usually do just the easiest one, WR, but you could also do copy running config to startup config, and that saves it as well. And there we have it. We have a fully set up base configuration. One other quick thing that I did was I realized that I didn't have that my home router directly connected to this. So I needed to actually send all of the routes that this switch doesn't know about to the SVI for VLAN 10. So that switch is connected to that router. So if I send the traffic to that switch, it knows where 192.168.1 is, and it will send the traffic there. So I did that with this command right here, IP route 0.0.0, and then I was able to ping it. And I think I should be able to get out to the internet as well. Yep, I am online. So that's it for this basic configuration. Hopefully this is helpful. This is the first of several that I'll be posting. I'm studying for my CCNA to get it again, so this is for my benefit as well as anybody else. Thanks for watching and have a great day.